Cleveland just exploded. Local radio legend Tony Rizzo, a man who's been covering this team for decades, went on air and dropped the one question that sent Browns fans into a frenzy. Why is Shedeur even here? And with that one line, he lit up the phone lines, social media feeds, and every sports bar conversation in Northeast Ohio. What was supposed to be a normal day of practice updates suddenly turned into a full-on quarterback controversy, and at the center of it all is rookie QB Shedeur Sanders. Here's the story that has everyone talking. Reports started circulating that Shedeur isn't even running scout team reps in practice. That job, at least according to what insiders are hearing, belongs to Bailey Zapp. Yes, the same Bailey Zapp who was waived by the Patriots not that long ago. So naturally, fans start asking, if our rookie quarterback isn't even running scout team, what is he doing? Is he just standing on the sideline holding a clipboard? Rizzo's rant captured the frustration that so many Browns fans feel. He flat out said, if Shedeur isn't running scout team, why is he on the team? Are they just selling jerseys? That's the kind of shot that hits hard in a city that has been burned by bad football decisions for the better part of 2 decades. And you can't really blame Browns fans for overreacting. This is a franchise that has been through 35 quarterbacks since returning to the NFL in 1999. They've seen high draft picks flame out, veterans collapse under pressure, and promising rookies ruined by being thrown into the fire too soon. So when they hear that the most exciting quarterback prospect they've had in years isn't even getting practice reps, the trauma kicks in. But here's the twist, and it's what makes this story so fascinating. This controversy might not be what it seems. In fact, it might actually prove that for once, the Cleveland Browns are doing something right. It might be the smartest quarterback decision they've made in years. Think about it. Why would the team deliberately keep their rookie off the scout team unless they had a plan? Why would they use a veteran like Zapp instead of their shiny new draft pick unless they were being deliberate about his development? What if this isn't a sign that they're neglecting Shedeur, but a sign that they actually value him too much to risk stunting his growth by throwing him into meaningless practice reps? That's where this story gets interesting, because it's no longer just about who takes scout team snaps. It's about the Browns' entire approach to quarterback development, the pressure of the Deshaun Watson situation, and the very future of this franchise. And over the next few minutes, we're going to break it all down, the controversy, the media meltdown, and why this entire situation might be the first real sign of hope Cleveland has had at quarterback in decades. If there's one thing you can count on in Cleveland, it's that the local media will absolutely lose its mind whenever the quarterback situation comes up. And this week was no different. The moment Tony Rizzo asked, "Why is Shedeur even here?" It was like throwing gasoline on a bonfire that was already burning. Within minutes, clips of his rant were all over social media. Fans were debating it on X and Facebook, and sports talk callers were lining up to weigh in. This is what Cleveland sports media does. They take a tiny spark and turn it into a 3-alarm fire. It's almost like they crave the chaos. Rizzo didn't just ask a question. He framed it as a larger indictment of the Browns' front office, implying that the only reason Shedeur is even on the roster is because his jersey sales are good for business. And once that narrative hit the airwaves, it was off to the races. Local columnists started writing about it, bloggers picked it up, and suddenly every sports network in Ohio was debating whether the Browns were mishandling their rookie quarterback. It didn't matter that nobody had confirmed the practice report. It didn't matter that Bailey Zapp running scout team might actually make perfect sense. The storyline was too juicy. Browns wasting rookie QB is the kind of headline that drives clicks, calls, and ratings, and that's exactly what everyone ran with. But here's the thing most people missed in the middle of this frenzy. This overreaction says more about Cleveland than it does about Shedeur Sanders. The city has been so starved for competent quarterback play that every little piece of news about whoever is under center gets magnified 1,000 times. When you've spent 25 years watching quarterback after quarterback fail, your patience runs out. You want action now. You want results now. And that's exactly what makes this situation so toxic for a young quarterback like Shedeur. Before he's even had a chance to play a real snap, the media is dissecting his every move, or in this case, his lack of moves. Instead of letting him quietly develop, they're questioning his very existence on the team. This kind of constant scrutiny can break a rookie before he ever gets started, and it's why the Browns' response here is so fascinating. They haven't panicked. They haven't rushed to defend themselves in the media or throw Shedeur onto the scout team just to quiet the noise. They've stayed silent, kept him in his developmental lane, and ignored the outrage machine. And honestly, that might be the most grown-up thing this franchise has done in years. Instead of letting talk radio dictate their football decisions, they're sticking to their plan. A plan that will break down in the next section, and one that might finally get Cleveland out of quarterback purgatory once and for all. To really understand why Tony Rizzo's rant hit so hard, you have to understand Cleveland's history with quarterbacks, and it's not a pretty story. This is a franchise that's been haunted by what many fans call the quarterback curse, ever since the team returned to the NFL in 1999. In those 25 years, the Browns have cycled through more than 35 different starting quarterbacks. 35. That's not just instability, that's dysfunction at a historic level. You name it, Cleveland has tried it. First-round draft picks who were supposed to be saviors, Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, all failed to deliver long-term success. Veterans brought in to stabilize the position, Jeff Garcia, Jake Delhomme, Robert Griffin III came and went in a flash. Even journeymen like Josh McCown and Jacoby Brissett were given a shot. None of them stuck. And each time, the cycle was the same. The new quarterback would arrive with hype and hope, the fan base would rally, and then, before he even had a full season to figure things out, he'd be thrown into the fire. Bad offensive lines, poor coaching, constant scheme changes, all of it combined to crush whatever confidence those quarterbacks had. The result? A revolving door under center and a fan base that learned to expect disappointment. Deshaun Watson's saga made things even worse. The Browns gave up 3 first-round picks and handed out the most guaranteed money in NFL history for a quarterback who has barely been able to stay on the field. Whether because of injuries, suspensions, or just poor performance, that massive contract has become an anchor around the team's neck. It's a painful reminder of how desperate this franchise has been to solve its quarterback problem, and how much they've gambled and lost in the process. That's why the Shedeur Sanders pick felt different. For once, it wasn't a panic move. It wasn't a splashy top 5 pick or a desperate trade. It was a calculated decision, a 5th-round pick on a player with elite upside, a guy who doesn't need to start right away but could become the answer if developed correctly. And that's the key word here, development, something the Browns have rarely been patient enough to prioritize. Historically, Cleveland has been quick to yank quarterbacks in and out of the lineup, quick to give up on them when things go wrong. But this time, they seem committed to doing it the right way, letting Shedeur sit, learn, and grow before throwing him into the AFC North meat grinder. So when fans hear he isn't running scout team, their trauma kicks in, they assume it's neglect. But the truth is, this might finally be the moment the Browns break the curse. This might be the first time in decades they're actually playing the long game. Here's the part that almost nobody in Cleveland's media seems willing to acknowledge. Shedeur Sanders not running scout team is actually a good thing. In fact, it might be one of the smuttest decisions Kevin Stefanski and the Browns' coaching staff have made in years. Let's break this down. The job of the scout team quarterback isn't glamorous. It's not about developing your playbook or perfecting your reads. It's about mimicking the opposing quarterback so the defense can prepare for Sunday. If you're facing Lamar Jackson, that means running around, improvising, making plays with your legs, and trying to give Mullah's GURPT and the defense a realistic look at what they'll see on game day. Now ask yourself this: does it make any sense to have your rookie quarterback, the guy you see as a potential franchise cornerstone, spending practice time pretending to be Lamar Jackson instead of mastering your offense? Of course not. That's not development. That's busy work. That's why Bailey Zappe is out there running the scout team. Zappe is a veteran who has started real NFL games. He can handle that responsibility, absorb the opponent's playbook for the week, and replicate what the defense needs to see without derailing his own development. Because, let's be honest, Zappe isn't Cleveland's future. His job is to be ready if needed right now, and to help the starters prepare. Shedeur's job is completely different. His job is to become the future of this franchise, and that means his practice reps should be focused on Stefanska's system, not Baltimore's. He should be spending his time in the film room, learning protections, getting comfortable with timing routes, and slowly building up to the point where he can run the Browns' offense at a high level. This is how the best teams handle their rookie quarterbacks. Look at how Kansas City handled Patrick Mahomes. He barely saw the field his rookie year. He wasn't running scout team pretending to be other quarterbacks. He was learning Andy Rudd's system. When he finally got the keys in year 2, he hit the ground running and won MVP. That's the model Cleveland is following here. They've seen what happens when you rush a young QB into situations he's not ready for. They've lived that nightmare too many times. This time, they're doing it differently. So when Tony Ruzza asks, "Why is Shedeur even here if he's not running scout team?" The answer is simple: because he's too important to waste on scout team. The Browns aren't hiding him. They're protecting him. They're building him up piece by piece so that when his number is called, he's ready to succeed, not just survive. If you really want to understand why the Browns' decision with Shedeur Sanders is so important, you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This isn't just about today's practice reps or this week's game plan. This is about where the Cleveland Browns want to be 2 years from now. And for once, it looks like they actually have a plan. For decades, Cleveland has operated like a team stuck in reaction mode. They've been constantly chasing the next quick fix, whether it was drafting a quarterback too early, trading for a win-now veteran, or cycling through head coaches every 2 years. That kind of short-term thinking is exactly what kept them in quarterback purgatory for so long. But this time, this feels different. The Browns knew going into this draft that they had a Deshaun Watson problem, a massive contract they're on the hook for, with no guarantee he'll ever return to Pro Bowl form. They also knew they needed to protect themselves from repeating history. So instead of gambling the future on one big move, they quietly took Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, a calculated, low-risk, high-upside pick that buys them time and flexibility. And here's the key. By not rushing him, they're maximizing that investment. Every day Shedeur spends learning the playbook, getting mental reps, and absorbing what it means to be a professional quarterback is a day that brings him closer to being NFL ready. It's not about what he can do in September of his rookie year. It's about what he'll be able to do when he's handed the starting job down the road. This approach is also about building stability. For once, the Browns seem committed to creating an environment where a young quarterback can actually thrive. That means continuity in coaching. That means letting him develop chemistry with his receivers over time. That means having him learn from veterans like Joe Flacco and even Bailey Zupp without the pressure of carrying the franchise on his back just yet. When you look around the league, the teams that get quarterback development right, Kansas City with Mahomes, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, Green Bay with Jordan Love, all have one thing in common: patience. They don't let outside noise dictate when the rookie plays. They let the process unfold naturally. And that's exactly what Cleveland is doing here. This long-term vision is why Browns fans should be excited instead of panicked. Because for the first time in a long time, this franchise is thinking years ahead instead of just trying to survive the next Sunday. Shedeur isn't here to sell jerseys or be a practice squad body. He's here because he represents the future, and the Browns are finally treating the future like it matters. Here, where this whole controversy really gets interesting, because the backlash over Shedeur Sanders not running scout team isn't really about football. It's about history, emotion, and a city that's been burned too many times to think rationally about quarterbacks anymore. Let's be honest, Cleveland fans have trust issues, and who can blame them? This is a fan base that has watched their team botch the quarterback position for nearly 25 years straight. They've seen first-round picks turn into busts, journeymen come and go, and promising prospects destroyed by being thrown into the fire too soon. Each failure hasn't just been disappointing, it's been traumatic. So now, every little decision the franchise makes about the quarterback position is scrutinized like it's life or death. That's why Tony Ruzza's rant hit such a nerve. When he said, "Why is Shedeur even here?" It triggered that trauma response in fans. They didn't hear a simple question. They heard, "Here we go again. The Browns are mismanaging another quarterback. They're wasting another draft pick. They're setting us up for another decade of misery." It's not logical, but it is emotional, and in sports, emotion always wins the headlines. The media feeds into this cycle because, frankly, it gets attention. Browns protecting rookie QB doesn't sell nearly as well as Browns wasting rookie QB. Controversy drives ratings, clicks, and social media engagement. So instead of explaining why the team might be taking a patient, long-term approach, the narrative becomes that something must be wrong. But here's what almost nobody is saying. This might actually be the smuttest quarterback plan the Browns have had in years. Keeping Shedeur off scout team doesn't mean they don't believe in him. It means they value him too much to waste his early development mimicking other quarterbacks. It's like having a young surgeon spend his first year doing paperwork instead of training in the operating room. You'd never do that. And yet, because Cleveland has been conditioned to expect disaster, they interpret patience as negligence. They see a rookie not playing and assume the team is already giving up on him. They hear silence from the coaching staff and take it as proof that something is wrong. The reality is almost the exact opposite. The Browns are playing the long game, and the media just isn't used to seeing that in Cleveland. They're used to chaos, drama, and desperate moves. So when they see calm, calculated decision-making, it feels suspicious. And that's what makes this so fascinating. This isn't really a story about Shedeur Sanders. It's a story about a fan base learning to trust again, and a franchise trying to teach them what competent football management actually looks like. For Browns fans, it's easy to get caught up in the noise. Every time a quarterback situation flares up, panic spreads like wildfire. Calls, social media rants, and hot takes from the local media all telling you that disaster is inevitable. But here's the thing. If you step back and look at the bigger picture, there is actually a lot to be genuinely excited about. First and foremost, Cleveland is finally approaching the quarterback position with a long-term plan. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another rookie thrown into the fire to see what sticks. He's a fifth-round pick with elite upside, brought in deliberately to be developed over time. That patience is rare in this city. Historically, the Browns have rushed young quarterbacks into starting roles before they were ready, resulting in predictable failure. With Shedeur, they are doing the opposite. They're protecting him, allowing him to learn the system, and giving him the mental and physical foundation to succeed at the highest level. Second, Shedeur Sanders himself is the kind of player who can actually thrive under this developmental approach. He comes from a football family, has an advanced football IQ, and has already shown he can perform under pressure. He's not sitting around wondering why he isn't running scout team. He's likely grateful for the opportunity to focus on the things that truly matter: mastering the playbook, studying opposing defenses, refining his mechanics, and learning how to operate an NFL offense efficiently. That level of preparation sets him up for success when his opportunity arrives. Another reason to be excited: the Browns are building a culture of competence and stability at quarterback. For the first time in decades, it feels like a team is actually thinking several steps ahead. They're not reacting to media outrage, they're not chasing a quick fix, and they're not sacrificing a rookie's growth for short-term appearances. This is smart roster management, and it could finally break the cycle of quarterback disappointment that has haunted this city for years. Fan engagement also matters. Shedeur is already generating excitement. His presence on the roster, his potential, and his charisma give fans hope. Having a young quarterback to rally around brings energy to the stadium, optimism to the community, and faith in the organization's direction. In a city that has been starved for meaningful wins, that's incredibly important. Finally, let's not forget the irony. While the media fuels drama about scout team reps, the Browns are quietly laying the groundwork for success. Every practice rep, every film session, every careful decision about Shedeur's development is a step toward giving Cleveland a legitimate franchise quarterback, the kind they've been searching for since 1999. So the next time you hear someone questioning why Shedeur Sanders is on the team, remember this. This isn't a failure, it's a strategy. This isn't chaos, it's a plan. And for Browns fans, that's something worth celebrating. The future is finally looking bright. As we wrap up this deep dive into the Shedeur-Sanders controversy, here's the key takeaway. What looks like chaos on the surface is actually a masterclass in patience, strategy, and long-term thinking. Cleveland fans have spent decades suffering through quarterback after quarterback failing under pressure, and it's understandable that skepticism runs deep. But if you take a step back and look at what's actually happening, it's clear that the Browns are finally doing things the right way. Shedeur-Sanders is not on the roster to fill space or to satisfy the media. He's there because the front office and coaching staff see something truly special, a quarterback who can become the cornerstone of the franchise for years to come. Every practice, every film session, every carefully chosen development path is designed to prepare him for the moment when he'll step onto the field and lead Cleveland with confidence, skill, and poise. That's what smart organizations do with their most valuable assets, and that's exactly what the Browns are doing here. This is also a reminder for fans. Patience isn't a weakness, it's a strength. The most successful teams in the NFL understand that developing a quarterback is a process, not a sprint. You can't expect instant results from a rookie, especially one who is being groomed to become a franchise quarterback. Cleveland is breaking from a long history of reactive decisions and short-term thinking. They're building a foundation that can lead to sustained success, and Shedeur-Sanders is at the center of that plan. For fans watching this unfold, there's a clear action to take. Support the process. Cheer for Shedeur's development, follow the team's progress closely, and celebrate the small victories, learning the playbook, executing in practice, developing chemistry with teammates. These moments may seem minor now, but they're the building blocks of future wins and ultimately championships. And here's the exciting part. The media controversy? That's just noise. It won't impact Shedeur's growth, and it won't affect the team's plan. While pundits debate scout team reps, the Browns are quietly stacking the pieces in place for a quarterback solution that could last a decade or more. Every wise organizational decision, every day of careful development, is a step closer to ending Cleveland's long-running quarterback curse. So the next time you hear someone questioning Shedeur-Sanders' presence on the roster, remember what we've talked about today. Remember that the smartest moves often look boring on the surface. Remember that development takes time and that patience pays off. Most importantly, remember that Cleveland finally has a plan that makes sense, a plan built for the long term, and a plan that gives fans real hope for the future. If you want to stay updated on all things Shedeur-Sanders and Cleveland Browns quarterback news, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and follow along. Every practice, every film session, every step in Shedeur's journey will be covered, because this is a story that's far bigger than just one player. It's about the rebirth of a franchise. Don't miss a moment, because when Shedeur finally takes the field, you'll want to have witnessed every single step that brought him there.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.